Here come the drums. Welcome to the Mark Peterson Show. This is the show where news and views are combined with parapolitics from a blackish point of view. I know some of you are saying, what in the heck is parapolitics? Parapolitics is the paranormal combined with politics. You know, that grassy knoll stuff, the Illuminati. Yeah, I splash all of that together with current events, news, and opinion to give you this show. And that's why you tune in. What's the title of today's show? The Land of the Free and the Home of the Borg. Yes, the Borg. Jean-Luc Picard's most fierce enemy, the Borg. That's what I'm claiming America is turning into. And we're going to work through every point till you understand just how devious and deceptive the Borg can be in America. Why did I title the show Land of the Free and Home of the Borg? Because I think America wants difference. Different people. Black, white, tall, short, skinny, thin, fat. They want difference. But they don't want diversity. And for those of you who don't know the Borg are a fictional alien race from Star Trek that would come in and completely take over another civilization and integrate them into the Borg, taking their best attributes and tossing everything else to the side. Full assimilation. Now, the Borg is a cybernetic organism in the Star Trek series, but the way I look at them and the way they assimilate people and throw away all the other needless characteristics, they really do earn their name as the collective, making everyone into drones that operate, walk, talk all the same way. And I'm arguing that that's what America has been pushing at least for the last 100 years. You say, well, Mark, isn't it just starting to happen now? No, we want difference, not diversity. Well, let's put some facts on the table. Explain to me redlining. Explain to me the Jim Crow laws, where I will allow you to live in the same city, but segregate myself physically, socially, emotionally, financially, with every rule and law that I can pass in the country. But you're saying, Mark, it's 2019. Dr. King fought for these things in the 1960s. We're well past that. We're judging people by the content of their character. A December 6, 2018 article entitled in the Washington Post, "Large cities are still segregated even as the nation becomes more diverse." That's just from last December. We're still as segregated as we were in the 60s as the country becomes more diverse. And I think it's that growth in diversity that's causing us to only want difference. And we're seeing that pushback from people we never expected to push back. Because before that point, there was a clear majority, and now we're getting a really mixed bag of folks who are going to have political power in the next 15 to 20 years. Tom Brokaw. Everybody knows Tom Brokaw. He was America's voice, America's conscience. He came out on December the 28th and stated that Latinos need to, quote unquote, assimilate more into American culture. Now, here's a guy that America trusted with the facts, making a bald-faced blind statement without any facts. An argument put forth based on emotion because he sees the country becoming more brown and black. In reality, assimilation among Latinos occur even in the first generation. By the second generation, data shows that there is a high level of assimilation, with many Latinos unable to speak Spanish into the second generation. So what in the heck is Tom Brokaw talking about? He wants difference. He wants people to look different, but to emulate everything they see white Americans do to make him feel more comfortable. No more celebrations that support Latino culture, even if they speak English. No more Kwanzaa, right? Support Santa in the traditional skin color, that everyone had supported when the greatest generation was in their prime. We want difference, not diversity. I know you're saying, well, that's just one example. No. As the country becomes more brown and black, we're seeing more incidents of pushback across the entire country. In Blavity, on January 18th, 2019, Kansas Blue Valley Northwest High School refused to let a dancer dance because her skin was too dark. I'm glad that wasn't me, because I am black as hell and proud of it. But let's get back to this Kansas high school. Camille Sturtevant found a text message from her dance instructor stating to another instructor at the school, we do not want her to dance because her skin is too dark and it would distract the audience. That team choreographer, Kevin Murakami, was the one who wrote that text message. Now, Camille would have never found the message, but he gave her his phone in order to play music for the dance troupe. She discovered the text message and brought them to light. He lost his job, but the rest of the school rallied around him and not Camille, having a celebration party after the last dance competition and not inviting her and bringing him to the party. At that last competition, they wore ribbons with his name on it to express their support. He had done nothing wrong. She was the one that was wrong because she was different. She was diverse. She offended the audience by daring to be dark-skinned. How about this example from Ebony Magazine on January 16, 2019? A black anchor, Brittany Noble, beautiful young lady, well-regarded, well accepted in Mississippi as an anchor, wore her hair straightened until she found out she was pregnant. Asked for permission to stop straightening her hair because she did not want the chemicals used to straighten her hair to affect her pregnancy in any way. Was granted permission by the executives at the station, WJTV in Jackson, Mississippi. But shortly after she started wearing her natural hair, some members of the viewing audience complained that they didn't like seeing her natural hair. Executives came to her and asked her to go back to straightening her hair so that she'd be more appealing to the viewing audience. She refused. When the executives continued to push for her to change her hairstyle back, she filed a complaint with the corporate office, Nexstar, letting them know that she was being asked to do something that she felt like violated her rights. When she got no response from Nexstar, the corporate office, she filed an EEOC complaint. Shortly after that, she was fired. Remember the character from Black Panther? Shuri, the Black Panther sister, the really smart one. Well, Brittany Noble wore her natural hairstyle just like that character. But yet the audience found it offensive. I guess it was good enough for the movie, but not good enough for the daily viewing audience in Jackson, Mississippi. This next story is really going to get you. From CNN.com, December the 26th, 2018. 16-year-old Andrew Johnson, son of Charles and Rosa Johnson. He was forced to cut his dreadlocks before a wrestling match by a referee who was a known racist. Andrew had wrestled in prior matches, even in tournament play, with the dreadlocks. He pinned them back. The referee, though, at this particular match, gave him an ultimatum. Cut the dreads or forfeit the match. The coach didn't stand up for him. His teammates, the majority white teammates, didn't stand up for him. And Andrew was made to stand in the middle of the gym while a young white female cut his dreads off and watched them drop to the floor. I couldn't help but think about Samson and Delilah at that point. But here's what really got my blood boiling. The referee stood next to the young lady and gave instructions to her to keep cutting until, quote unquote, he was satisfied. Now, some of you are thinking, you can't wrestle with dreads, Mark. You're making something out of nothing. But no, here's what the NFHS Wrestling Handbook says. A wrestler's hair cannot fall below the top of his shirt collar in the back, below his earlobes on the sides, or below his eyebrows. Now, if it is longer than the rule allows, the wrestler has the right to braid his hair or hide his hair beneath a cover attached to the ear guards, which is what he has always done because it is allowed by the rules. But this guy got a chance to sit there and have his hair cut in front of a South New Jersey audience until he was satisfied that his diversity no longer offended him. So I know you're saying, Mark, what's going on here? Why are these incidents happening? Is it just a function of social media bringing us closer together? That these things have always happened? It's not that there's a tension, a palpable tension building in this country? Well, I do think there's a palpable tension. And it starts basically with what we believe to be the definition of diversity. It's not the same. The recent studies have gone and looked at what people perceive to be diverse. When white Americans have been asked the question, what is a diverse community? Those studies have said 80% white, 20% black or any other race, and that's a diverse community. When asked the same question, black Americans said 50-50. Even. So you can see what's implied in the percentages that were given by just those two groups. 80-20 gives the group that's in the majority the ability to rule with an iron fist and call it democracy. That means the 20% will rarely get anything they want unless what they want is what the 80% wants. In a community that's 50-50, you're going to make more compromises because there's going to be a silent minority that'll float between the two big groups and swing policy one way or the other. Some people would call that a healthy community. Others perceive that to be chaos because they're not getting everything they want every time. See, but here's what's more sinister. Knowing that there's that underlying difference in perception, those with the absolute power can play off of that, can heighten your fears and go, that 20%, they want to wreck your life. And that can start a snowball of reactions that we are now seeing play out in the public. And as the country becomes more brown and black, you're going to expect to see more and more of these types of incidents. But the change is inevitable. According to Sarah Jo Peterson in Urban Land, there is no majority race for children under the age of 5. Multiracial marriages make up 1 in 7 of all marriages. White non-Hispanic population will start to decline in absolute terms in the next 10 years. And by 2030, whites will make up 55% of the population, blacks will make up 15%, Hispanics will make up 22%, and Asian and Pacific Islanders will make up 8%. And from that point forward, there will be no clear majority at all in the country. That's the pressure. That's the palpable tension that's causing a lot of these sorts of reactions to bubble up in the public and to be exploited. Ronald Brownstein, in a speech he gave to the Brookings Institute, spoke of a cultural generation gap. In that speech, he stressed how 100% of the growth in the workforce between now and 2030 will come from the racial minorities that make up this country. Yes, the workforce is going to become more brown and black And if you expect the economy to continue to grow, they're going to have to move into jobs that are dominated today by whites. Did you guys hear that? Yeah, all those high-paying jobs, Wall Street jobs, big-time law firm jobs. If you expect the economy to continue to grow, you're going to have to expect that those jobs will be taken by people who are brown and black. If you believe that that's going to happen, then you would look to have people invest in all the schools where brown and black people are, to see those schools get better, to see the institutions that support them get better. But we know that's not happening. We know that there's not a celebration of that future, but a dread of that future. And here's where the parapolitics comes in. If you don't want that future to happen, you're going to do everything you can to hold on to power and limit the power of brown and black people. And not just in government, guys. The parapolitics side of this is going to get really freaky. First, you're going to try to keep them out. We see that playing out right now on the cover of every magazine and on every TV show. Yeah, we're going to put a great wall around the United States and keep out all those people we don't like. And the ones we do like, we'll let them land at O'Hare and Hartsfield and come into the country. But those we don't like, big, great wall on our southern border. We see that already happening. But here's where it gets even more sinister. And you don't even see it happening. You hear it, but it's not registering with you when you hear it. Artificial intelligence, robotics and automation. What are they telling you about all of that? That it is going to replace, at a minimum, a third of the jobs in the economy right now. Some of your smarter minds are saying, don't go down that path, because there's a possibility that we could lose control of our reality. Guys, Facebook had 2 AI computers that started talking to each other. They came up with their own language. When the guys at Facebook tried to figure out what the language was, they could not. They queried the computers and asked, could you please explain to us what the language is and what you're talking about? The 2 AI computers essentially told them, it's none of your business. Google's also venturing into AI. The Chinese game Go is supposed to be 10 times harder than chess. Google built an AI system called AlphaGo. And after months of training it how to play the game, it defeated the Chinese grandmaster. They made a second AI system called AlphaGo Zero and gave it no rules and told it to teach itself how to play the game. And within 3 days, not only was it beating the grandmaster, it was beating the other AI robot. They still haven't figured out what strategies it employed to beat the other AI robot. When we unleash this technology, it will quickly become the smartest entity on the planet, with its intelligence growing at an exponential pace. We will be obsolete. Despite all of that, these companies are moving forward because the alternative is to live in a society dominated by brown and black. But those who dread the future of having brown and black run the jobs that we have now are moving full speed ahead and embracing artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation at the expense of the future of our society. You're saying, Mark, no, this is too much parapolitics. No, it's true. Walmart's rolling out robots that are going to stock shelves and clean floors. That's going to wipe out 10% of their workforce. They employ 1.3 million people. So we're talking about over 100,000 jobs just from stocking the shelves and sweeping the floors. Wow. McDonald's is already down the road with putting up kiosks that will eliminate all of the cashiers. There's already technology that allows you to create custom hamburgers and pump out 4,000 hamburgers in a day. There's a company right now in San Francisco that's making pizzas with robots. You got delivery drones that will be coming to your front door, or rovers that will be bringing you medicine. They're going to eliminate every job they can possibly eliminate and then use artificial intelligence to do a lot of the high-end jobs that we didn't think could be automated. Accounting, legal work, any of that transactional work that people get paid good money to do now, it'll disappear in 10 years. Long before the browning and blacking of America. See, you guys don't get it. AI, automation, and robotics is just like the cultural nuclear bomb of our society. It's going to eliminate whole generations of opportunities until we can right-size the economy around those people and the new skills needed to support AI, robotics, and automation. See, and when you have all of that kind of chaos, where people aren't going to be able to find the types of jobs that are available in today's economy, that's the perfect time to rethink your democracy, to come up with a new form of government that guarantees those who've had power for the last 300 years to keep power for another 300 years, even if they are in the minority. You don't believe it? Just look at South Africa. And we already have them playing the games today with the democracy. Project Crosscheck has gone into a number of Republican-led states and knocked people off voter rolls because they shared the same name as someone else. My brother and father have the same name. Under the heuristics that they used to examine the databases, those two would have been kicked off the voter rolls and forced to prove they weren't the same person. Now, there's an easy way to confirm that just by looking at their social security number or other key data that's different so that you can tease those records apart. But that's too easy. If you want to dominate democracy, you knock them both off conveniently right before an election so that you can guarantee that your shrinking majority continues to hold on to power. And this cross-check program has done that in state after state after state. And guess what? The Democrat guys who're supposed to be making a lot of noise about this program, they aren't. And that's shocking. Which makes me wonder, is it really a Republican-led initiative? Or is there something more sinister going on? So as you look out and see these trends converging, we're going to be looking down the barrel of a new government that has a lot more in common with authoritarian regimes than with the democracy that the founders put in place, all to maintain power. But no, guys, I'm going one level deeper. I mentioned earlier that by 2030, the majority population will start to decline in absolute terms. And some of that has to do with birth rates, which have continued to move into negative territory. Caucasian families are waiting later and later to have kids, and the number of kids in the family are getting smaller and smaller. Whereas with minority families, particularly Latinos, those families are getting bigger. So the growth rates are pushing through the roof, changing the mix in America. So if you can't accelerate the growth of the majority group, what do? Right? If you don't have a great offense, you build a great defense. You slow the growth rates of those other groups. And some people say there are a lot of different initiatives underway to do that. What are some of those initiatives? Some people would say Planned Parenthood. Blacks make up a third of all abortions, whereas black women make up 6% of the population. 30% of the abortions, but 6% of the population. Smells to me like there's some over-targeting going on in the black community. Others have looked beyond the United States and have looked at programs that have gone in with contraception to slow the growth rates in African countries. Exchange medicines for contraception. I know you're saying, Mark, we would never, ever do that. No. Guys, we're the country that had the cure to Ebola and let one of the most prominent doctors die in Africa without offering him that cure. The cure only became known to the public when American doctors became infected. Didn't that make the hair on the back of your neck stand up? That they were sitting on a cure as this man was dying, they let him die, discovered that American doctors were infected, and suddenly, magically, out of nowhere, here's the cure. Every one of them survived. There was no outcry. There was no, hey, if you had a cure for that all along, what else are you hiding? That made me clearly understand why power is so important to those who have it. And that's why Caucasian Americans should want to listen to this show even more than Black Americans. Because we have been pitted against each other in order to allow the few to maintain all the power, to maintain all the cures, to maintain all the money, to maintain all the resources as we fight amongst ourselves for the table scraps. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to realize that we're more alike than we are different. When electricity came to American farms, 100% of the jobs that were done on farms disappeared. New jobs emerged, but it took time for that economy to transition. If we're all going to survive, we're going to have to all realize that we have more in common than we have different. And if we're going to survive, we're going to have to make investments in those people that we thought we wanted to throw away. And I think it'll happen. It'll happen. As I mentioned earlier, 1 in 7 marriages are now multiracial or interracial. And that's going to make a difference. I grew up with a teacher who I thought was biased. I didn't think he was viciously racist, but definitely biased. Until his daughter married a Black man and gave him 3 beautiful grandkids that he takes with him everywhere he goes as a proud grandfather. And anybody that messes with those kids, calls them any name, or makes them feel like they're any different, he raises holy hell. He has had an opportunity to walk in their shoes and has seen the world through their eyes and is a changed man. Supporting them, pushing them, giving them every opportunity he had in life because they are part of his family. And I think that's all we have to do. See the people that you thought needed to be thrown away as part of your family. And I'm not saying any color in particular. Black people need to see white people as part of their family. White people need to see Black people as part of their family. And then build communities that don't start with redlining, Jim Crow, and segregation, but built because you want to see the other person succeed. Content of the character, right? You don't really care if they have dreads, if they can add value. You don't care that the skin is darker, that they wear natural hair, if they add value. And I think that's what Dr. King was trying to say. Judge me by the value that I create. Right, guys, I'm starting to hear the drums. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If not, I did. Keep tuning in. If I didn't offend you in this episode, I promise I will offend you in the next one. Peace.